Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into a major story that could change the course of the Israel-Hamas conflict. President Donald Trump has presented a new 20-point peace plan aimed at ending the war in Gaza and securing the release of all remaining hostages. Both Israel and Hamas have responded cautiously, and for the first time in months, there's a real sense that a breakthrough might be close. President Trump unveiled his plan on Monday, calling it the most comprehensive path to peace in the Middle East in decades. The proposal calls for Hamas to release all remaining Israeli hostages in exchange for 250 Palestinian prisoners and 1,700 Gazans detained during the war. The plan also lays out steps for ending Israel's military operations, establishing a temporary technocratic Palestinian administration in Gaza, and creating a framework for long-term peace. The reaction from Hamas came swiftly. On Friday, the group announced that it was ready to release all hostages according to Trump's terms, a statement that followed Trump's fiery post on social media warning that if no agreement was reached within days, Hamas would face, quote, all hell. Within hours, Hamas issued its response, saying it was ready to cooperate and hand over Gaza's administration to a neutral Palestinian body of independent technocrats. Trump quickly praised Hamas's statement, calling it a great day for peace. Speaking briefly to reporters, he said, "We're seeing historic movement. Hamas wants peace, Israel wants peace, and we're getting close to making it happen." But he also acknowledged that important details still need to be worked out, especially questions about Hamas's weapons, Israel's security, and who would govern Gaza after the war. For Israel, the announcement was met with cautious optimism. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Saturday that Israel was on the brink of a hostage deal, and confirmed that Israeli negotiators would travel to Egypt to begin talks. His office later released a statement saying that Israel was preparing for the immediate release of all hostages, and would continue working with Trump to bring the war to an end in accordance with the principles set forth by Israel. Netanyahu also made clear that Israel's position hasn't changed. Hamas must be disarmed and removed from power in Gaza. This will happen either diplomatically, according to Trump's plan, or militarily, at our hands, he said. That line reflects the delicate balance Netanyahu faces, welcoming Trump's diplomatic initiative while maintaining his government's tough stance on Hamas. Despite the diplomatic progress, fighting has not stopped. The Israeli military remains active across Gaza, particularly around Gaza City, which Israel says is one of Hamas's last strongholds. Over the weekend, at least 17 people were killed in an Israeli strike on a residential building, according to Gaza's civil defense agency. The Israeli army said it had targeted a Hamas militant but was investigating reports that civilians were among the casualties. Israeli officials say the army has been ordered to move into a defensive posture, meaning large-scale offensives may pause while troops hold their current positions. But airstrikes and gunfire have continued. On Saturday morning, residents in Gaza reported explosions and clashes, and Israeli forces warned displaced Palestinians not to return to the north, calling it extremely dangerous. In Gaza, after nearly a year of war, many Palestinians are desperate for a ceasefire. Interviews from the enclave show widespread support for Trump's plan, even among those who doubt it will last. "We are tired of war, tired of losing everything," said Samira al-Qudra, a displaced mother from Gaza City. "If this plan can bring peace, then let it happen. We just want to live." At the same time, skepticism remains high. Hamas has not said whether it will give up its weapons or permanently end military operations. And while the group says it's ready to transfer power to a neutral administration, it hasn't specified how that would work, or whether it expects to retain influence behind the scenes. Inside Israel, the potential deal has sparked mixed reactions. Families of the hostages have welcomed the progress and urged Netanyahu to finalize the agreement quickly. "Every day that passes is another day of suffering," said Gilad Regev, whose son is among those still held in Gaza. "If there's a deal, we must take it." But within Netanyahu's government, right-wing ministers have warned against any plan that allows Hamas to survive politically. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich said, "Hamas must be destroyed completely, not repositioned under another name. Israel cannot afford another Oslo-style deception." Meanwhile, Trump's team has been working closely with Egyptian and Qatari mediators to turn the proposal into a concrete deal. U.S. officials describe the responses from both sides as promising but incomplete. The next steps, they say, include finalizing a mutual ceasefire, arranging the hostage and prisoner exchanges, and setting up an interim governing authority for Gaza, a process expected to involve Egypt, the U.S., and possibly the United Nations. Egypt confirmed that delegations from Israel and Hamas are expected in Cairo in the coming days. An Egyptian official said the atmosphere was cautiously positive, but warned that the hardest issues, such as disarmament and border security, could still derail the talks. "The devil is in the details," he said. While diplomacy inches forward, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza remains catastrophic. The United Nations says more than 80% of the population has been displaced since the war began, and that food, water, and medical supplies are running dangerously low. UN officials have pleaded with both sides to allow humanitarian corridors, warning that Gaza's infrastructure is on the verge of collapse. "The people of Gaza have suffered enough," said Philippe Lazzarini, head of the UN Relief and Works Agency. "Any opportunity for peace must be seized immediately." For Netanyahu, the coming days will be critical. His leadership has faced growing criticism over the handling of the war and the failure to bring the hostages home. A successful deal would mark a major diplomatic achievement, but if Hamas refuses to disarm or insists on changes to Trump's plan, the fragile progress could quickly unravel. For Hamas, agreeing to the plan could mean surrendering control of Gaza for the first time in nearly 2 decades, while rejecting it could risk another devastating Israeli offensive. The group appears to be weighing its options carefully, aware that global pressure and internal exhaustion are mounting. And for Donald Trump, this is more than just foreign policy, it's a potential legacy moment. If he can broker a truce and bring home the hostages, it would represent one of the biggest diplomatic wins of his career. But if talks collapse, it could expose the limits of his influence in one of the world's most intractable conflicts. Late Saturday, Netanyahu appeared on Israeli television, reiterating his red lines. "Our principles are clear," he said. "The hostages must come home, Hamas must disarm, and Gaza must never again be a base for terror." He added, "We seek peace. If this plan can achieve that, we will give it every chance." As night fell over Gaza, explosions echoed once again, and the distant glow of flares lit the sky, a reminder that even as diplomats talk of peace, the war isn't over yet. But for the first time in many months, both sides are at least talking, and that, in itself, may be the first fragile step toward an end to the bloodshed. Thanks for watching. If you found this update helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more news and analysis. This is Your Name, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay informed and stay safe.